Welcome to Elevate, the podcast where we dissect exceptional achievers who are consistently raising the bar personally and professionally to produce extraordinary results in investment real estate and ultimately in their lives. Now here's your host, Tyler Chesser.
Elevate Nation, welcome back. This is Tyler Chesser. I want to thank you so much for being here. And I want to ask you a question because we talk about this each and every time. Are you ready to take it to another level? I have no doubt in my mind that today we will be taking to another level. And I'm really honored to be sitting here with my friend, my coach, Trevor McGregor. Trevor, how are you, sir?
Outstanding, Tyler. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
Absolutely. I'm doing wonderful. I'm always good when I'm with you. Come on. This is
That's awesome.
Well, I want to welcome everyone back to Elevate. You know, this is the show. What our mission is to identify and apply how the best of the best are achieving greatness and, through raising the bar professionally, personally, to achieve greatness in real estate and beyond. And so, this is truly a masterclass. We're with the master today. So we want to dive in. We want to dissect, really what you're doing to achieve uncommon results and purposeful outcomes, through real estate, through mindset, through coaching, through mentoring, and so many of the dynamic things that Trevor is really doing on a consistent basis. So if you appreciate what we do, we would appreciate if you would subscribe. First of all, we would appreciate if you rate, if you're so inclined to give us a 5-star rating, we would certainly appreciate that. And give us a review, give us some feedback. So I want to tell you a little bit about Trevor McGregor here. So Trevor is a high-performance master coach with over 20,000 hours of coaching experience under his belt. I can tell you he is the man. He is legit. And he has worked with clients around the world, including myself and many of our friends, including Fortune 500 executives, high-level real estate investors, entrepreneurs, world-class athletes, and business professionals. And they all come to him for one reason: life-changing transformation, which I love. In addition to running his own private coaching practice, Trevor was a master platinum coach with the Tony Robbins Group, offering elite coaching unlike any other program in the world. Trevor is also an active real estate investor holding assets in his portfolio that range from owning single-family homes in Vancouver to multi-family apartment buildings in places like Texas, Memphis, and South Carolina. How kind of you to cross the border to our beloved United States. Trevor has also diversified into self-storage units in Key West, Florida. He also co-owns a luxury resort center in Costa Rica and is an investor in a modular home building company in Australia. Did I tell you he is dynamic? Trevor's passion is in coaching real estate investors, and to date, Trevor's clients have bought over $1 billion with a B worth of multifamily apartments. His mission is to assist others in realizing their true power and hidden potential to achieve more success, wealth, freedom, and contribution than they ever thought possible. Trevor lives with his beautiful wife, Lisa, and their 3 boys in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. So Trevor, the bio, we love the bio and we live behind it in some ways. Tell me a little bit about Trevor. Who is Trevor beyond the bio? Give Elevate Nation an elevator pitch.
Oh, thank you so much. And yeah, it's funny to listen to that bio, and just blessed and grateful to have achieved some phenomenal success, but it wasn't without, some growing pains on the way to getting there. I mean, if you really want to know who I am, like the bio says, born and raised in Canada, just absolutely fascinated with, why people think and behave the way they do, whether that's personally or in business. And Tyler, I always had a fascination for why people, achieve success, and also why people were held back and perhaps failed or took a long time to get to where they wanted to go. So this guy, Trevor, is a guy that's immersed himself in, the books, the audios, the seminars, and literally, wanted to learn it so that I could, really understand it and apply it for myself. And as I started to learn it and apply it in my life and shared it with the, people that were around me, colleagues in corporate, or, my son's little league coach, or, some of the people I'd run into at events, and they started to apply the same thing. They also started to have a phenomenal level of success. And so I think that's when the coaching bug bit. And I literally, left my corporate gig and, devoted my time to becoming a full-time coach and a full-time real estate investor. So I literally have the opportunity now to work with people all over this beautiful blue planet to help them get clarity on what they want, why they want it. And then, we reverse engineer a plan to go get it. And, they get to live the life of their dreams, just like you're doing, just like I'm doing. And I'm telling you, when you have an understanding that it only takes two things to get there, and I'll share that with your listeners in a minute, that anybody who's defiantly committed to success can actually have it.
That's amazing. So what I hear the core of that is that you became so devoted to your own development, to your own, personal and professional growth, right? What was the core of that? When did you draw a line in the sand and say, look, I'm not committing to ordinary outcomes. I'm not committing to, just a basic life. I'm stepping up and I'm going to achieve an uncommon life. What happened and how did you get there?
Well, it's a fascinating story. And the short version of it is I always thought I'd be an NHL hockey player. I mean, growing up in Canada, it's the dream of every Canadian boy to, lace up the skates, put the stick in the puck and play and go. And I loved playing sports growing up, was great at hockey, was often the captain of my team, but I just wasn't big enough. I didn't have the speed or the size. And so, I let that dream die. And instead I went off to university and studied business. And then I went to work for a company. And what I thought would be a very short stay with them ended up being a long time in corporate, where we literally were a hospitality and real estate company. And we did restaurants, we did retail, we bought strip malls, we developed property. And as the executive director of operations, I was in charge of a little bit of everything, from HR to finance to marketing to site selection. And so I really cut my teeth in this business and literally learned a ton of different facets of what it takes to run a successful business. And then in a certain point in my career, the partners in the business asked me to come in and, join this expansion opportunity. And I thought, man, I'm going to be 30 years old. This is going to be amazing. I'm going to put some money into this thing and, retire young and rich. And ultimately that was the plan. And so what I did is I scraped together a whole bunch of money from my savings. I dipped into my 401k. Tyler, I even convinced my own parents at the time to take out a 6-figure mortgage on the family home. And I took all that money and I invested it in our expansion. And for the first little while, it was great. Things were going gangbusters. And then at a certain time, it was actually 2001. And we all remember what happened when those planes hit the towers. The whole economy shifted. Things stopped moving. People were scared. There was so much uncertainty. And we were in such a rapid growth expansion plan in 5 major cities in North America that we were a little bit overextended and we bit off more than we can chew. And to make a long story short, I lost all of that money I put into that expansion. So not only was I down and out and broke, but I didn't have any idea how I was going to make that money back or pay off my loans, let alone tell mom and dad that I just lost all of that money on their home. So what does somebody do when they're down and out? Well, they seek guidance. And thank God for me, I found a coach. And that coach literally said, Trevor, you're still a young man. Have you ever thought of what you want to do to get up, dust yourself off and, keep on going? And I said, I have no idea. And he said one thing, Tyler, that changed my life forever. He says, have you ever thought of doing real estate? I said, real estate? I don't know what real estate is. He goes, well, I think it's an opportunity for you to use other people's money and leverage, that opportunity to literally make some money, start knocking off some of that, debt that you have. And so I did. I listened to what he said to do. I went out there and I found one tiny little townhouse and I bought it. I scraped together a little bit of money from different friends and, a couple of different, sources. And I bought one little property and then I leveraged the money out of that and bought a condo. And that was another good experience. And in Vancouver at the time, there was massive appreciation happening. So then I took the money out of that and I bought my first duplex. And that's when I discovered what cash flow was. And so now I had these properties and I bought another duplex and another duplex and another fourplex. Then I started to buy single family homes. And in a relatively short amount of time, not only did I make enough money to pay off all of my failed loans, but I had a beautiful cash flowing, real estate portfolio on top of it. And yes, I did pay my parents back in full. So it was at that time where people started saying, Trevor, what are you doing to amass this wealth? What is your secret? What are you doing? And around that same time, I was really into personal growth. I was really into Tony Robbins. I was really into, Zig Ziglar and Think and Grow Rich, like a lot of the stuff that you and I have talked about. And people started asking me for advice in real estate. And I started to share that with them. And in a relatively short amount of time, I think the coaching bug really bit. And that's when I decided to get out of anything I was doing corporately and devote my life to being a coach and a mentor.
So what I'm hearing in this entire, I appreciate you kind of bringing us from, back when you're 30 years old, when maybe you had a massive failure, to today. And even before that, you talked about, your love for sports, and you found out that you were too small, right? You were, but you were able to devote yourself to business and to developing your own personality, your own personal growth. And so it sounds like, there's so many things that happened in your life that happened for you and not to you, right? And so,
Right.
Could you have ever imagined where this would have all led you?
Not a chance. No, absolutely not. I mean, I was born, into a middle-class family, certainly not rich by any standard, certainly not poor, but my dad did work 2.5 jobs, to look after my brother and my sister and I, my mom. And man, I always thought that the dream was to really go out there, get a good job, make a good salary, start putting money into the 401k and start saving for that, Freedom 55 or 65 birthday date when we get to say sayonara to the company and, head off and retire. But I soon found out that, man, that's a false dream. That's a false bill of goods that most people get sold. And that if you really go back in history, Tyler, we were all born creative. We were all born as entrepreneurs. So why go work for someone else and make them rich, on your back when you can go out there and make yourself rich? And it's not even just about the money, because I'm a big believer, and I know that you agree with this, that the impact that you can make as an entrepreneur is what's even more inspiring. And if you go out there and make enough of an impact, that money becomes the byproduct of that. And, that flows into your account. So here I am now as a coach, a mentor, a speaker, a facilitator, a real estate investor. I mean, my wife, Lisa, and I, we absolutely have designed our life around this. We travel internationally at least 4 to 5 times a year, whether that's to Australia or Italy or Hong Kong or an Alaskan cruise. We're getting ready to go to Spain and Italy coming up right away. And we don't say that to beat on our chest. We really do want to, show other people that you can do that if you design your life around something you're passionate about and something where you produce so much value that money gives you the lifestyle that you've dreamt of to go out there and be, do, and have anything you want. And, it's not just for us. We have 3 beautiful boys, and we want to show them that it's not the stuff that we can buy with that money. It's the experiences we can have, and I've always said there's nothing better than getting on an airplane and showing your kids this beautiful blue planet.
Well, what you're talking about is a life by design, right? Which is the whole point of people getting into real estate, as an example, is they're doing it for an outcome, right? And they're investing in real estate. They're building a business for that outcome. And so I'm curious to know, kind of fast forwarding for you, to today's day and age, what's an example of a way that you have raised the bar in your own business to really elevate your results?
Well, it's fascinating because what allows people to elevate, just like the beautiful, title of the show, is that there's those 2 things that I spoke about at the top of the call that you need to elevate. And believe it or not, they both start with the letter M. And the first one, Tyler, is what I call mindset. You just can't go out there and achieve all that you could if you didn't have a high performance, peak performance mindset. So what is that? Well, it's getting crystal clear around your beliefs, your values, your rules, your focus, your identity. Who are you as you go out there and, want to build your empire? Because some people work in what we call a disempowering way, whereas, achievers work in an empowering modality. So if there's one thing I've really done, and I've worked very hard at this, and I've invested a lot of time, money, resources, and energy, is to cultivate a high performance, peak performance, can-do mindset. And I know that you are cut from that same cloth. And, while everyone else is, out there watching Netflix, I was reading books, listening to podcasts like Elevate, going to seminars, hiring coaches, being a part of a mastermind group, and I've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, to get to this stage of my life where I've taken a little bit from each and every one of those things and I've applied it. And I think that's what's definitely helped lead to my success. So that's the mindset piece. Does that make sense?
It does. Absolutely.
Yeah. The second piece that starts with the letter M as well is modeling. That's where you don't go out there and reinvent the wheel. Let's take real estate. There's really nothing new in real estate. People have been looking to buy real estate or conquer land for thousands of years. You know, people used to go to war over land. And so what I do is I've really modeled, you know, what other people have done in the real estate arena to go out there and optimize and maximize portfolio. So that was eventually moving from those townhouses, condos, duplexes, fourplexes, single family homes to now doing some development, now getting into multifamily apartments, getting into self-storage, the Costa Rica Eco Resort, the company down in Brisbane. Every single thing is where we literally tie it to real estate, because I truly believe that real estate is one of the greatest wealth vehicles on the planet. And so as we take the mindset and we model best practices and we bring those two together, that's when sparks fly and magic happens, my man.
I love it. So, I mean, what you're talking about is, you know, these are the two pieces for you, right? So mindset and then modeling. So tell me a little bit more about modeling. I mean, you always say success leaves clues. Tell me more about who do you model in your own practice, or who have you modeled maybe in the past few years?
Yeah, I love that. And again, that quote, success leaves clues, comes from the man, the myth, the legend. Yes, Mr. Tony Robbins. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to be asked to come and work with and for Tony Robbins. In fact, I spent half a decade as one of his top master platinum coaches on the planet, because Tony is known for being a life coach, but he's a lot more than that. He's a business strategist. So what I did is I took my corporate skill set, my real estate knowledge, my passion for people, and I literally went to work, you know, with millionaires, billionaires, business owners, I mean, you name it. And man, I cut my teeth coaching for Tony. So Tony's definitely been an inspiration that I've modeled, but there's tons of other people out there. When you look at a guy like Elon Musk, when you look at someone like Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs, you know, Bill Gates, you know, J.K. Rowling. I mean, there was a woman who was, you know, writing the Harry Potter, you know, story on scrap pieces of paper living out of her car. But she had one thing, and that was a dream. She had a dream and a desire placed on her heart to create this, just like Bill Gates created Microsoft and Steve Jobs Apple. And, you know, you look at Richard Branson, Oprah Winfrey, all of these people have one thing in common, and that is a desire to support a better humanity. And I think in order to support that better humanity, you also need two things. Number one is you got to be hungry, because you want to literally have that insatiable appetite to go out there and make it happen. And number two, Ty, you got to have passion. I mean, where there's hunger and passion, there's opportunity. And ultimately, that's what I've done, is I've modeled what other, you know, successful business people have done, and literally, you know, put the pieces of the puzzle together for myself, my family, my community, my investors, my tenants, my clients. And now they too are starting to see that there's a new way of thinking and behaving where it's not just about the strategy. Because if it was just about the strategy, I mean, there's this little thing on the internet called Google. If you type what you want to achieve into Google, there's going to be a billion hits. But what's missing is the psychology. And so it's really important for the listeners of Elevate to understand that if you want to go from good up to great, or you want to go from great up to outstanding, or let's go Tyler Chesser on this, you want to go from outstanding to extraordinary or extraordinary, that it's those things that are in play to make it happen.
So you what you say is that the core of all these great people, Elon Musk of the world, the Bill Gates, the Steve Jobs, the J.K. Rowlings, you know, so on and so forth, the core is they've got a desire to support a better humanity, right? And,
Yep.
and what you say, the two pillars of that are hunger and passion. Is there a way that you could, you know, embark upon Elevate Nation that they could develop their hunger?
Well, again, hunger comes from an internal drive, you know, and it's not something that I think we have to go outside of ourselves and look for, you know, and this might sound a little bit woo-woo, but I think you have to go inward. I think you got to go and, you know, start asking yourself better quality questions to really understand, you know, who you are and what makes you tick. You know, it's just like real estate. Some people like to go out there and their hunger is to find great deals. Other people have a passion for underwriting those deals. You know, other people have a passion for running the asset. So I think that we have a uniqueness inside of us that where you're hungry to elevate your game and go from good to great, great to excellent, excellent to outstanding, and outstanding to extraordinary, and you fall back on, you know, what do you love to do where time stands still? that adds a lot of value to you, to other people, and that money can become a byproduct of that value, that's started the sweet spot of finding what it is that you want to go out there and do every day. For me, that's coaching. For me, that's investing. For me, that's travel. And for me, it's like working with outstanding clients like you, where I can share this. Because if you really want to own this, Tyler, the best way to apply it is to give it away to other people. That is to make other people around you better, because at the end of the day, we're only here for a short time. And we're only here for two reasons. One is to grow, and one is to contribute. And if you really want to do both, grow your finances, grow your health, grow your relationships, grow your knowledge, you got to be willing to give it away. And that's where contribution comes in. And there's another Tony Robbins quote that I love where he says that the secret to living is giving.
That's what we're trying to do here, is really give away that knowledge and distill that wisdom from you. And, it's such a great time to be alive, because, before, years ago, people would just kind of hold in this information and they wouldn't tell it to anyone else. But, we're at such a beautiful time now where there's such an abundance of information. There's an abundance of opportunities. There's an abundance of relationships to be built. However, it can be a double-edged sword. If you look at it this way, there's such an overwhelming amount of information out there. One thing that I've learned, or that I've had to learn, perhaps the hard way in some ways, is how to say no and how to decline certain opportunities. So I'm curious as to, obviously someone like yourself who is, high in demand all across the world. How do you decline opportunities, and how are you saying no to certain things?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm a giver. I say yes probably far more than I should, because I really am cut from a cloth of contribution at this stage in my life. I'm 49 years old. I'm no spring chicken, thank you, but I'm not that old either. That, I just want to make sure that people realize that they don't have to suffer, that there is a path to freedom. And that ultimately, if I can leave somebody on this podcast with one nugget, or I go stand on a stage, or I go on a TV show or a radio show, or, I'm somewhere where I can literally share one or two or three things, it's literally those things that people can then go, okay, well, does that work for me? And if it does, not just can I learn it, but can I go out there and apply it? I had this coach one time that he said, if it was just the information alone, every librarian in America would be a millionaire. And they're not, because it's the application of the information that's important. Does that resonate with you, Tyler?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one of the things we talk about here is that knowledge is only potential power. Action upon that knowledge is the real power. Massive action, like we like to say, and our friend Tony Robbins likes to say, take massive action. That's how you're really going to learn. And also, one of the things that I learned from you, really, and others, is that when you teach and when you share, that's really when it really starts to anchor within you and your own understanding. And so I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's absolutely spot on. And to get back to your original question of how do I say no, for me at this stage, I really look at, who am I impacting and what is their defiant commitment to success? Because I'd rather work with people that know that applying this stuff is going to help them, help themselves, help their family, help their community. And for tire kickers, if it's somebody that is just interested in learning this rather than committed to learning this, that's a decision that I use to be able to say no. And, you've probably heard this from other people, but a no for me is really checking in with what's a no and what's a hell no. And then what's a yes and then what's a hell yes, where, man, it's really fulfilling me in terms of my 6 human needs, and giving me a level to up level my own self. Because even though I've done all of these coaching calls and I've achieved a bit of success and, I coach a lot of people, there's always another level for me. So I always ask, if I say yes to this, not only am I going to inspire and perhaps go out there and contribute to the lives of others, but will I get something where I can take my game to the next level? And it's really a unique way to really approach it and a lens to see it through. Just like I don't just talk the talk in coaching, I walk the walk. I've got 2 coaches, plus an accountability partner that kick my butt regularly. Because again, we're human. And a coach is there to help you see your blind spots. A coach is there to help you formulate a plan. A coach is there to help you with limiting beliefs. And believe it or not, a coach can actually see things coming that you perhaps have not seen. So why wouldn't I want to take advantage of somebody else's expertise? And I pay them a lot of money because I definitely get the value out of them that allows me to go out there and make a bigger, impact and income.
Yeah, it's all about investing for an outcome, right? That's one of the things that we've talked about so much, is not only investing your resources, but your time, your energy, your effort focused on that outcome. How do you anchor people, from, because a lot of times people, I guess, are, they're focused on the task at hand, right? But they're not really focused on, well, what are they actually getting? That's one thing that I think about, from what really resonated with me, you were talking about the corporate world, and people are really they're spending their time for, that paycheck every 2 weeks. And I heard a really interesting thing where someone said recently that a paycheck is one of the most addictive things in the world, next to heroin and other, potent drugs. And I'm curious as to how do you actually get people to focus on their goals, and how do you actually focus on your own goals in terms of outcomes, and what is it that you do? What sort of process do you do to get there?
Well, really, it's a 7-step process, and we got to give the man Tony Robbins credit for it, and I know you're a big fan of Tony's work, and you've been with Tony, and you've walked on fire and done some pretty crazy things yourself. But at the end of the day, there's 7 simple steps that if you follow these 7 things, you can crush it personally, you can crush it professionally. It doesn't matter what your outcome is. You've got to start with the very first one. And that step 1 is, what is the result you want? What are you after? By when do you want it? At what level do you want it? And specificity is power. So the more crystal clear you can be with what you want in terms of your career or your finances or your relationships or your health or, your spirituality or your fulfillment, it all applies. And once you know your outcome, most people then go to step 3, which is, executing on making it happen, but they skip step 2. And step 2 is the most important one. Again, that is, why do you want it? So step 1 is know your outcome. And step 2 is, what is the purpose behind achieving it? Tyler, that often becomes the rocket fuel or the juice that when times get tough, keeps you going, that you get knocked down, that gets you back up, that you go, I'm tired, or I'm broke, or I just can't go one more step. The power of why is absolutely unbelievable in the human spirit. And that's what allows people like Steve Jobs. I mean, the guy got fired from Apple, go off there and do his Pixar thing. And next thing you know, he's coming back into Apple and takes it to a whole new level. So for me, it's knowing my outcome, knowing why I want it. And then we go to step 3, which is the massive action plan. That is the map of all of the different things that you can do to move closer towards your outcome. So that's really step 3. And it's those 3 things that are paramount. And then the final 4 of the 7 steps are very simple. Step number 4 is to prioritize those opportunities. All opportunities are not created equal. All tasks are not created equal. And you must identify what are the high income, high impact activities, and what do you need to prioritize first over everything else. Once you do that, you go to step 5, which is timestamp it. Time stamping is really all about 2 things for our Elevate guests. That's where you literally create a deadline to make it happen, or you carve out time in your calendar to work on it. And most people don't do that. They just say, here's what I want, here's why I want it, here's what I'm going to do, here's what I'm going to prioritize, but then they don't schedule it. And Tony says, if you don't schedule it, it doesn't get done. So that's step 5. Step 6 is where you look at what we call leverage. And leverage is literally, asking yourself, how can I have other people help me get to that outcome? Perhaps it's technology, perhaps it's a virtual assistant, perhaps it's a spouse, perhaps it's a friend. There are resources all around us. And for a lot of people, they forget that there are other people that can help them achieve their outcome. And then the final step, step 7, this big guy, is execution. Because you can't do all 6 steps without then sitting out and absolutely applying what it is that you're trying to do. And that application is also where you check in. And it's called course correction, which is almost like an airplane. If an airplane is flying from New York to LA, it's literally going to check with the satellites every 3 seconds, am I on my path? And if you are, the plane keeps going. And if it's not, it makes a little shift to get back to where it's headed. So those, my friend, are the 7 steps to goal setting and goal achievement.
Well, I just want to remind Elevate Nation, this is a podcast. Rewind that, play it again. anchor that into your nervous system, that will change your life for sure. I have no doubt about that. I know it's changed my life. And I'm curious, with that, we're talking about goals, right? We're talking about outcomes. Tell me about a goal that you're inspired and you are uncomfortably working towards right now.
Oh, wow. We'll talk about being put in the hot seat. Yeah, there is an insatiable appetite to really, really support charity. And my wife, Lisa, and I, we've got some very lofty goals, and we're working on some behind the scene projects right now that we'll be launching, in a very, very short amount of time, where it will have an opportunity to impact millions of lives, if not a billion lives. And that is through taking our, knowledge, our wisdom, and packaging in a certain way where it's not just for adults, it's also for children, because we believe that children are our greatest resource and the greatest asset to the planet. And we want to kind of move into that space, Tyler, where we're putting some of this information in the hands of 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds so that they don't have to wait till they're 20 or 30 or 40 to learn this stuff. So we've got some pretty lofty goals. Going to take a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of, thought, a lot of masterminding. And then, going out there and executing on it is also going to be something that, we're going to have a few hills to climb. But with taking extreme ownership over it and really seeing how it can benefit humanity, I mean, you'll find us at the top of the mountain. It just might be a little bit of a different time frame till we get there. But I'll assure you, we'll be planting our flag in the top of that mountain, and we're going to be very proud of what we're about to launch.
That's awesome. Well, and I know a little bit about this, and it all goes back to your contribution, right? And the secret to living is giving. And if you can be in that space, it's amazing how your own problems, your own challenges kind of melt away when you're in that. And so I'm inspired to hear what you're doing and look forward to seeing more about that. And the key is children, right? I mean, we've got to kind of plant these seeds from a young age so we don't allow those weeds to grow in the mind. One of the things that I've heard so many times that you and I have talked about is that your mind is the most fertile ground on the planet, and if you can plant those seeds as an early age. And just to give Elevate Nation a little bit of an insider look here, we're talking about the new alphabet for humanity. Am I correct?
You are spot on, Tyler. Yes, it's called a new alphabet for humanity. And, when we were kids, and I'm sure all of your listeners can, 1,000% agree that we were taught that A is for apple, and B is for ball, and C is for cat, D is for dog. Well, my wife, Lisa, and I have come up with something that, we want to get into the hands of more educators, preschools, nurseries, kindergartens, that sort of thing, where we've literally taken every letter of the alphabet and given it a lot more power. I'll give you an example where A now stands for abundance. B stands for bravery. C stands for compassion. D for diversity, E for empathy, and it goes on and on and on, because these words have the power to change relationships, have the power to create friendships, have the power of bringing communities together. And ultimately, if kids start learning what these words are at a younger age, there's a greater chance that they'll actually, go out there and, be or operate from these words. So we're pretty stoked about it. We've got a lot of really cool stuff, like a children's book being written about it. We've got a school curriculum, we've got posters, and remember, this is a passion project. We're still totally focused on coaching, speaking, real estate, but it's one of those things that, when the universe places something in your mind or on your heart, it's because the universe wants you to go out there and execute on it. In fact, it's a desire that Lisa has had. And if you look up the Latin root of the word desire, it means of the Father, of God, of source, of infinite intelligence. So if any of you Elevate Nation folks have a desire that's on your heart, it's because the universe wants you to go and execute on it. Does that make sense, Tyler?
1,000%, my friend. And tell me about, with that, you're such a purposeful guy. You're such a driven person. And obviously you and Lisa are such a power couple. Tell me about what's the driving force behind what you do, Trevor?
I think it again comes from that insatiable appetite to, help people go to that next level. Again, I think that people have grown up at a time where there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of, things going on with politicians and climate change. And social media and all this stuff. And it's imperative that we really get back to really understanding, what are we here for? What is your why? Why do you want what it is that you want? Because there's a difference to want something from an ego standpoint, where it's all about you, and you're tuned into the radio station of WIFM, what's in it for me, versus going out there and understanding, again, that you're here on purpose and with purpose to help your fellow man and woman. That is to help them navigate a challenge or a problem, or can create a breakthrough, and then you start, tuning into that radio station of how can I help others, and life just becomes sweeter. And what I find fascinating about when you make that decision to absolutely operate from that place, that the universe starts to bring you opportunities. The universe starts to bring you co-creators. The universe starts to bring you the capital that you need to, go out there and put it to good use. So ultimately, it's like back to that, where focus goes, energy flows. And we're the only creatures on the planet that can choose what we focus on. In fact, out of the 10 million species or so that are on the planet, including, animals, fish, plants, insects, all of them operate by instinct. We're the only creature that has what's been called dominion over. That is the power to choose. So if the universe gave you the power to choose, it's because the universe wants you to exercise that power to choose and go make this planet better than it is before.
That's amazing. I really want to make a mention of the fact that we do have a power to choose. We have the power to choose to live a great life. We have a power to choose to offer contribution to others and give back to others and find our own inspiration, because, we're all here for a reason. And it, like you said, it's a short time, and it's, we're not here to just punch a time clock. We're here to create a great life, not only for our family, but for billions of other people. We've got 7 billion people on this planet. Who knows how many billion we'll have in the next decade? I mean, it's growing rapidly. We have an opportunity and we have a duty as Elevate Nation, people who are really along this kind of mind thought process and in this path, to really to give back. And I love the thought of just choosing to do that. It is our choice. And so I really appreciate you sharing that. What we're going to do now is we're going to move into our rapid fire rare air questionnaire. Okay. We're climbing Mount Everest. Things are getting a little bit, we can't breathe too much. A lot of people gave up miles ago, but we didn't. So I'm curious as to know, and I think I know this answer, but what's the most impactful book that you've ever read and why?
Hands down, hands down, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I mean, Tyler, that's been my Bible. And I've read it over 50 times. I listen to the audio program regularly. My kids can even recite passages from the book because, my SUV doesn't go anywhere without a really good audio book or CD, a bottle of water, and a cell phone to make real estate deals happen. But yeah, what's really been the foundation of it is really, what he teaches in the book. And notice that the title doesn't say do and grow rich first. It says think and grow rich. And again, it goes back to the power of thought, the power of intention, the power of vibration, the power of frequency. And when we do that every day and we crank up the amplitude of that, again, abundance is our birthright. We can go out there and create whatever it is that's on our heart. And that book has been a massive factor in how I'm able to show up and do what I do.
Well, and like one of the things that you and I talked about recently is you don't have to always worry about the how. Think about the why and the what. And a lot of people, to them, it's kind of a foreign thought, but I think it's obviously a very valuable thought to plant those seeds within your mind, allow the universe to do the heavy lifting for you. I love that. Love it, love it, love it. So what's the biggest way that you elevate your life on a daily basis, whether it's a habit or a ritual? How do you elevate your life on a daily basis?
Well, I'm willing to do things that other, average people aren't willing to do, like get up early. So every single day I'm up at 4:44 a.m. I don't even want to join the 5 a.m. club. I want to be better than that. So I get up 16 minutes earlier. And it doesn't matter if it's Monday through Friday or weekends. My body and my identity has been set almost like a thermostat to say I'm someone who gets up early and does things that average people aren't willing to do, like read a chapter in a book, meditate, watch inspiring YouTube clips. Perhaps I'll look at my vision board. There's many things that we can do to really optimize and maximize our performance with our brain. And then you want to do something with your body. I'll go for a walk along the ocean. I'll do some resistance bands. I'll do some light weights. I'll go on the elliptical. But really, from that hour of 5 a.m. to 6 or 6:30 before my day starts, I'm ready to rock and roll. So it doesn't matter if I'm on stage somewhere or if I'm coaching calls or I'm doing a real estate deal. I've got the mindset and I've got the, physical energy to go out there and just rock it all day long, kind of like Tony Robbins. But I'm nowhere near, the level he does it at. But, like he says, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway there is, are you committed to doing what other people are not willing to do on a long-term, consistent basis? So whether it's getting up early, whether it's committing to your own learning, whether it's committing to your own mindfulness and being aware of the thoughts in your mind before the day gets insanely crazy, I know that is a separator for sure. And so it definitely shows, Trevor, for sure. So tell me about, how do you elevate others around you other than coaching? Obviously you coach people all over the world and you certainly are elevating them. You're elevating their lives and they're impacting millions and millions of people as well. But how do you elevate others outside of that core practice?
Well, it's a great question. And I think it's probably how I really understand and believe that the quality of questions I ask anybody is going to dictate the quality of their emotion. And the quality of their emotion is going to dictate the quality of their life. So it doesn't matter if I'm at a restaurant with a waiter, I ask really engaging questions, or at the gas station, the grocery store. Most people will say to their kids, "Did you have a good day at school?" And the kids will go, "Yep." Where I don't ask my kids that. I'll say, "What was the best part of the day at school today? I mean, what did you really enjoy?" They go, "Oh, Dad, I did this or I did that." So I think that the quality of questions you ask yourself and others really does something called elevating your emotions, kind of like this podcast. And if you're listening to this podcast episode, it's not an accident. You were meant to hear some of the stuff that Tyler and I are going over so that you can elevate your game, elevate your emotions, play at a higher level. And so I've got this ability to get in, different proximity to people and just really ask better questions, Tyler. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. The quality of your life equals the quality of your questions. So you've got to challenge yourself to identify, what am I missing? What do I not know? And then what can I get out of others? What kind of emotions can I get out of them? And let's break the norm, right? I love that. Well, Trevor, I really, really appreciate you so much. And I'm really thankful that you were able to spend time with us today. And just curious as to how the listeners can connect with you outside of Elevate Nation.
Absolutely. First off, great job, Tyler. This podcast is amazing and you do such a great job. Super proud of you, and thanks for having me on. And for anybody that wants to get in touch with me, there's 2 simple ways to do it. You can head over to my website. It's trevormcgregor.com. That's TrevorMcgregor.com. Or you can just head over to coachwithtrevor.com, and you can enter your details and shoot me a little note. As you know, I'd be happy to connect with anybody, because any friend of Tyler Chesser's is a friend of mine.
Well, and I want to make a mention that Trevor has been gracious enough to offer a complimentary 45-minute coaching session for Elevate Nation. So I highly encourage you to visit coachwithtrevor.com, because he is an absolutely transformational figure. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's an amazing soul, and he is an emotion basket of fun. Let me just tell you that. He's a lot of fun. And thanks again. But, the biggest thing here is that we have got to utilize repetition. We've got to go back. And I challenge you, listen to this episode again, take notes. I always say this, but you know what? Like I said earlier in the show, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power when you mix it with massive action. So take massive action on what you learn. Teach this to someone else. And thank you so much for being here today. And Trevor, we'll see you next time, my friend.
Outstanding, Tyler. Have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Elevate. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to elevate your results by taking immediate action on what you learned. For more, visit tylerchesser.com.